To comment during the Frankly Speaking show, you first need to open the video that is being streamed live. Look for the chat box on the side or bottom of the video player. This is where you can type your message. Click inside the chat box and use your keyboard to type out what you want to say. You can type words, use emojis, or even ask questions. Once you've typed your message, press the enter key on your keyboard or click the send button. Your comment will then appear in the chat for everyone watching the live.
Good day. It's the day after the first in the series of national election debates. It's the first Sunday after the Don Anderson polls, showing the two major political parties in a statistical dead heat. It's 10 days to the general elections. Good day. This is the 179th episode of the Frankly Speaking Jamaica Podcast. It's Sunday, August 24, 2025. Welcome to all of you watching or listening live. Thank you for joining. Remember, we welcome your comments and questions starting right now. Just remember to use the procedure outlined at the top of this program. Frankly speaking, our program is all about the general elections today. Desmond Richards is with me. Winnie Anderson Brown is off this week. Welcome to our special guests. They're both attorneys. One is representing the JLP. She is Sherene Golding Campbell, former senator and principal attorney of Golding Campbell and Associates. And representing the PNP is Sophia Frazer-Binns of Binns Law, spokesperson on the environment and ecological heritage for the PNP. And she's a former senator as well. Let me just say, we had arranged with Marlon Morgan, senior spokesman in communications for the JLP, to be on representing the JLP today, but that did not happen. There were a couple of issues on the way. Also, thanks to Mrs. Golding Campbell for fitting in at the 11th hour, so to speak. Later on in the program, we're going to be turning to two commentators with different perspectives, Clyde Williams and Garfield Higgins. But now, let's welcome Mrs. Golding Campbell and Mrs. Frazer-Binns. And we've asked Desmond Richards, is he here? Desmond, please go ahead, sir, and ask the first question. I'm not sure I'm seeing Mrs. Binns and Joshua, so Desmond, you might have to go to Mrs. Golding Campbell first. I'm sorry, I'm not seeing Mrs. Binns. Joshua.
Mrs. Golding Campbell. Good evening.
Thank you. Good afternoon. That's such a long word. Sherene is quite fine.
All right, Sherene. By the way, you are Mr. Golding's daughter, right? Mr. Bruce Golding.
I'm one of.
All right. Now tell my listeners and viewers why the people of Jamaica should re-elect the JLP after so many failed promises to address the issues affecting Black people in Jamaica.
Well, you set up the question with a premise that I don't agree with, but let me just
You don't have to agree with me.
I don't have to agree with you, but I'm going to answer as I design. I think there are lots of reasons to vote for the JLP in this upcoming election, a week and a half away. The JLP has campaigned for quite some time on the idea of trying to create prosperity for all its people. And I think when you examine what that means, prosperity is really about making your community better, making your people better, making their families and others around them better. And I think the JLP undertook to do that by looking at the national state of the country and trying to fix the economic foundation of the country. And the rationale behind that was logical and appropriate, because you cannot provide the conditions, you cannot build the conditions for prosperity for people until you create the nest egg, until you fix the financial foundation of the country. And so in their first term and a half, they did that despite the challenge of COVID, which set back a lot of other countries. But with the management that we had, we were able to move through that, right-size the economy, lowered our debt burden, reduce crime, increase employment, and reduce poverty. All those numbers are trending in the right direction. What should command the attention of the voters, I think, is that the approach of the JLP government has been thought out, has been done in a manner that I think is lasting, sustainable, and is not about throwing out, hodgepodge ideas that come to mind. And that is what I have seen with the opposition PNP. While we improved the country, we were confronted by lots of challenges. COVID wasn't the only one. We had the global war, the Ukraine war. We had Hurricane Beryl. There are a number of things. And yet, despite those challenges, the management of the country survived and thrived. And I think that is credit to the JLP. And I contrast.
Okay, listen, no, so those people in Jamaica who are having difficulty finding food, paying their rent, sending their children to school, can't get water, can't get medical care. That is what are you telling them? That you need another term before you can fix those issues for them?
What I'm telling them, Mr. Richards, is that development and recovery of the country from the state it was in is not a one-term matter. It's not a one-day matter. It is a process. In fact, I liken it more to a journey that began with first fixing the foundation of our pockets so we could afford the plans and and implement the plans that we needed to implement to correct what was done. And we then went into a stage of doing some of the micro work, working on things like basic needs of people, potable water, the whole situation with taxes, reducing electricity costs to some of the most vulnerable, creating pension programs that could address the needs of the most vulnerable. So it's not going to happen overnight.
One of the things you must
remember. Sorry, Desmond, just 1 second. I just want to say to our viewers that I did see Mrs. Binns just a while ago, but she seemed to have dropped off a bit. So we'll take her as soon as she comes on. But Desmond is asking some questions of Sherene Golding Campbell. Go ahead, Desmond.
Miss Golding, one of the things, Sherene, one of the things you must remember, this is not the first time the JLP is in charge of government in Jamaica. The PNP and the JLP have been running governments in Jamaica since 1944. And what I am telling you about, the lives of people, the ordinary black man and woman in Jamaica, these conditions that I'm talking about, they are not 9 years old, right? So when you have been there for 9 additional years, your government, and you promise prosperity, you promise us lots of things, and as we speak, people are still suffering. 6 people sleeping in one room, using one.
So allow her to answer so we can go. Desmond, allow her to answer so we can pick up with
yes.
Mrs. Binns, welcome. Welcome to you. I see you've been having some issues with the internet, but go ahead, Mrs. Golding. Sorry, Mrs. Campbell.
I think Desmond's question starts from a point where it assumes that we've been on a straight line trajectory from 1944 to now, and that's just not true. I mean, the fact of the matter is we've had years where we looked like we were going in the right direction, and then we have had significant years where the country plummeted despite the fact that the rest of the world was growing. That's my recollection of the 1990s and the early 2000s. I was 17 years old when Michael Manley came back into power in 1989. And when the PNP left government in 2007, I was 30-something years old. And what I saw then was a decimation of the manufacturing sector and productive capacity of the country, people out of jobs. I saw a FinSac that I have family members that suffered from, who lost their homes, lost their businesses, lost their livelihoods. So it's not to say that things have been going in the right direction all of along. So why aren't we further on? The fact of the matter is that the Labour Party government in 2016 went into remedial work. That's exactly what we did, because there was so much that had been wrecked in the country in terms of our fiscal framework and the way that we manage the affairs of our country, that much of that had to be fixed before you can talk about providing services and meeting the needs of people.
Are you telling us?
Sorry, Desmond. Let's bring in Mrs. Binns. Welcome, Mrs. Binns. Are you hearing us? Oh,
Sophia.
Sophia Frazer-Binns. Mrs. Binns, are you hearing us? She's not hearing us.
Hello, Sophia. Are you hearing us?
No, she's not hearing us. I can see she's just looking straight ahead. She's not hearing us.
Yeah, I think the video is frozen on her.
Joshua, can you see whether we can reach her?
And it's an internet issue, probably.
Mrs. Golding, I know Desmond has been asking you some things, Karen, and you're saying.
Can I just tell you, Mr. McKnight, the only Mrs. Golding is Mummy. No, there are two others actually married to the brothers. Please use Sherene. I'm quite comfortable with that.
Sherene, you make it sound that the only time that good things, good policies have been implemented in Jamaica is when the Labour Party is in power.
No. Stop you right there. No. I never say that.
You never say that, but you sound that way.
Well, I'm saying I never say that as a matter of practice. And the reason I don't is because there are things that the PNP has done in the past that I think are good things. And I can think, the NHF instituted under PJ Partisan is one of the most significant and good policies and implementation of policy that I think has happened in this country. But, and I want you to hear me out when I say this, the approach of the PNP is to come up with things to serve people, to give people. Nothing is wrong with that. But you cannot sustain a country if you cannot manage the economic infrastructure of the country. And I put it to you, my position is, from what I have seen from 17 years old to 30-something years old, while I was watching what was happening in my country, the PNP simply have never been good stewards of the economy. And for that reason, they have not been able to sustain programs. And we have landed in deep debt. We have landed in situations where our infrastructure has not been managed and maintained. And so all this conversation, even about hospitals and the maintenance of hospitals and the road network, is not a function because in the last 9 years they weren't fixed. It's a function because in the last 40 or nearly 50 years.
Sherene, we're coming back there. We have your colleague on now, and she has come to us.
I have no difficulty because Sophia was out. Yeah, go ahead.
Right.
Hi, Sophie.
Okay, that's wonderful, and thank you for.
How are you?
Right, we welcome you and thank you, Ms. Binns. You might have been missing some of the discussion earlier, but one of the things that I want to ask you straight away, isn't it an achievement worth appreciating that the JLP administration has cut crime significantly this year, has provided 8 budgets without any new taxes, some of the things that they have been pointing to, and those achievements worth appreciating and which a voter might consider to returning the JLP to office?
Well, I want to say 2 things, but allow me to say something because I only heard a part of Sherene's contribution in terms of the economy. And I want to say this because the Jamaica Labour Party likes to give the impression that the People's National Party really have not been good stewards of the economy. But let me say this. In 2012, when Jamaica Labour Party left office, rather 2011, but it was December, and the People's National Party came into power, what we found was an economy in ruins. And Sherene will remember that at the time, there was no the International Monetary Fund did not want to even engage Jamaica. In fact, they had stopped working with Jamaica because prior to that, under the Jamaica Labour Party, when Audley Shaw was the Minister of Finance, there was an agreement entered into by the Jamaica Labour Party on behalf of the citizens of Jamaica. And they did not comply or carry through the terms of the agreement. They literally abandoned the program. So when we took office then, no one wanted to deal with us. So what we had to do, Portia Simpson-Miller spent her political capital. She went to Washington and working with the Black Caucus Group was able to advocate to give Jamaica a chance. And that is how we were able to get a new IMF agreement, which came with serious conditions. Again, Sherene will remember that a lot of those conditions was how we tightened our fiscal management. And Mark Golding, as the Minister of Justice then, he led several pieces of legislation through the Senate. And because of those legislation, which laid the foundation for a new economy in Jamaica, we are now seeing the fruits of the labor. So the fact of the matter is, it was because of the work, the painstaking work of the People's National Party, why Jamaica was able to go on very strong footing. And it is because of the work of the People's National Party why the economy was able to evolve the way it is evolving. But note that even with the work of Mark Golding, even with the stabilization of the economy, because of the framework that we left, we are only having 1% growth on average. So, you know, it is to the credit of former Finance Minister Nigel that he continued the path. But let us not forget that a lot of the things he did, he had to do because they are legislated. The Fiscal Act, for example, that is a piece of legislation.
You don't give him and the JLP credit for the years of no new taxes.
Pardon me?
You don't give him, Nigel Clark, and the JLP credit for the years of no new taxes.
Well, two things I want to say on that. One is that it is the foundation that was laid by the People's National Party, which led to a stabilization of the economy, which is why there was not any need for taxes. But it is also not true to say that there has not been any new taxes, because in 2000, in their last administration, the Jamaica Labour Party increased property tax. They increased property tax, which by itself is a form of taxation. Secondly, what we must also remember is that because of the framework laid by Mark Golding and the People's National Party, the collection, the ability to collect revenues more efficiently was realized. All of that is because of the seed planted by the People's National Party. So, as I said, while you must give some credit to Nigel Clark in continuing the path laid by the People's National Party, the fact is that the foundation was laid by the People's National Party, right, and Desmond, we must never forget that.
Desmond, before you come in with a question, just want to make mention of Kirk Gibson is saying that there are lots of lies, and Moses is saying, teach Sophia all statements of facts, no conjecture. Teach Sophia all statements of facts, no conjecture. He's saying you should teach him. That's my
things have been said. I'd love to have the opportunity to respond.
Of course.
Sophia, sorry. I want to ask you this. As you know, I don't think you will disagree with this, that the ills and misfortunes in Jamaica rest at the feet of both the People's National Party and the Jamaica Labour Party. They are the only two parties that have formed government in Jamaica since 1944. Now, my question to you is, tell my listeners and viewers what the PNP government is going to do to rescue Black people in Jamaica from hardships, to make the lives of Black people. Let me start with one thing. What is going to be done to make Black people stop squatting from the day after, from they have been squatting the day after slavery was abolished?
All right.
What the PNP government is going to do to stop that?
Okay.
Okay. So the People's National Party has always been the party of social change, and we understand the challenges that Jamaicans face. We do not believe that people just squat on land because they want to squat on land. The fact is that the evolution of slavery and even post-colonial era really have not facilitated more Jamaicans owning homes. It is a recognition of that why our founding leader, Norman Manley, he started off with the Facilities for Titles Act, which allowed more Jamaicans to own homes. Then that continued, and we had a raft of policies that were undertaken by Michael Manley in the 70s. We're talking about site and service, we're talking about land lease. Those are some of the policies. And then we continued into the 90s with PJ Partisan when he introduced the LAMP program, which really said, you know what? Once you have been living on land for 12 years, then you can get a title. And this applied not just to registered land as what obtained in the act through adverse possession, but also lands that don't have a title. With Portia Simpson Miller, we saw this again, where he ensured that our sugar workers were taken out of barracks and placed in proper homes with their titles. It is that rich tradition.
What's going to happen in the next term?
Yes, and I'm coming to that now, because I wanted to understand that our policies are not just something we take out of the sky, but it is continuing the rich tradition, the DNA that we are all a part of when it comes on to giving land and title to our people. So what we plan to do are several things. We will be making available $1 billion from the NHT for young professionals towards their deposit. Each young professional who's qualified for mortgage will be given a grant of $500,000 towards their deposit. But we also will ensure that 50,000 low-income homes are built. And that is intentional, because the purpose of the National Housing Trust is to build homes for the low-income and the working class. What we have seen over the last 9 years is NHT building very few houses, and the ones they have built, aka Ruthven Towers, is $38 million for it. We don't believe that that was the intent and the purpose of the National Housing Trust, and we are committed to building 50,000 low-income homes across the constituencies in Jamaica for all Jamaicans in the low-income family.
All right, Sophia,
and those are just Sherene. Two.
Before we go back to Sherene, I just want to throw in a few of the comments that have been coming in. Spooks is saying, bare foolishness you are talking. Sophia, Keith is asking, can someone explain to us the difference between direct and indirect taxes? I suppose he's talking about with regard to the fact that I mentioned the years of no taxes. And Moses is also saying, when the PNP lost in 1980, Jamaica's debt to GDP was 63%. By the time the JLP lost in 1989, debt had exploded to 262% of GDP, and so on. And we're going there. But Sherene, you needed a chance to respond to some comments that Desmond made. And
well, let me just say, I heard Sophie's revision of the history, and I call it that. I want to be as charitable as possible, because it is exactly a revision of history, and I don't think there's anybody who was in Jamaica 2005, 6, 7, and leading up to 12, 13, and 14, who is going to agree with her. The fact of the matter is, I came home in 2005 after studying, and I recall when Audley Shaw was talking about getting lower interest rate money to help to finance the country's activities. And Omar Davis was rubbishing him because we were borrowing money at much, much higher interest rates. The whole fiscal tightening and the whole discipline in terms of how we manage our fiscal matters, our economy matters, began under Bruce Golding, and I hate to tell you I'm conflicted in saying so because he is my father. But the fact of the matter, am I getting a feedback?
Yes, I don't know. We're going to try to get rid of it, but we're hearing you.
Okay,
we're hearing
right.
you, Sherene.
So you know, it was in that time that there was a serious look at the country's financial affairs and how we organize business. We had Air Jamaica on our books that was bleeding our country with debt. And we got rid of Air Jamaica. There were many things done to try to bring in and rein in the fiscal looseness that had been characteristic of the 2000s, early 2000s and the 1990s in terms of how we spent money in this country. And
you don't support Sophia so you don't support Sophia that the PNP laid the foundation for
let me tell you how I have said it, and I've said it to anybody who has said that to me in the past. I have sought to correct them because we really couldn't do anything else. I am going to admit that certainly once we embarked on the IMF agreement, we did have a hiccup towards the end of that 2007 term. We did, right? So I'm not going to pretend that that didn't happen. But to credit the Portia Simpson Miller government for beginning fiscal responsibility in Jamaica is a straight up falsehood. And there's no Jamaican who was around at that time who buys that, because we know what was happening in 2007 when the world was undergoing a global recession.
Sherene, one of the things that can be said too, since you're on that line, remember the economic wizard? You know that term?
No, tell me what that means.
Eddie Siaga. Yes. Eddie Siaga was the economic wizard who was elected in Jamaica. And one of the things that he was supposed to have done is to rescue the economy from the disaster left by Michael Manley. So for people like me and many others, when we hear statement like that from you, we know it is just political talk. Because
with the greatest of respect, Mr. Richards, please don't characterize what I say. I own what I say and I believe what I say, and I speak sincerely when I speak.
I expect you to believe what you say. I am just telling you that don't try and convince the audience that the JLP rescued the economy in 2000 and when they took office in 2007.
The JLP began a program of rescue, Mr. Richards. That administration was in office for 4 years.
Mr. Siaga also started a program.
You want to hear from me, or you want to give your own editorial content? Which one?
Mr. Siaga also started a program to rescue Jamaica.
Yes.
And at the end of 1989, we were still in economic problems.
We were still in debt. But we had a growing and thriving manufacturing sector, which the PNP in 1990s decimated. We had the prospect of a growth that would have been sustained.
I want to move on, Sherene. I really want to move on, Sherene, because we don't have a lot of time left, Sherene. But I want to ask you this before I go back to Sophia. Should the JLP be returned to power? Are you going to leave that 11.4 billion a year in the NHT?
Who is that question to?
That's you, Sherene. I'm sorry. That's you.
Sorry, say the question again. I thought you were posing a
question. Should the JLP be returned to power? Are you going to leave the 11.4 billion a year in the NHT?
You know, I don't know how to answer that question, because the truth is I'm not affair with the NHT matters in that kind of granular way. What I can say is that I know the policy that has been put in place is that we are going to use the NHT to create more opportunities for young persons and for working people to be able to get homes. We have expanded the allotment under the NHT. We have made it possible for more than one person to put their NHT subsidy together to be able to access a loan. So there are programs in place, and the Prime Minister has spoken to the fact that he's on an aggressive program to ensure housing for all. So we're building more homes, both
but you can't respond to whether the party
and the NHT.
No,
but you can't respond to whether the JLP government would continue to remove that 11.4.
Franklin, Mr. Golding, Franklin, let me remind you, Mr. Holness told the nation when he was campaigning that when elected, the JLP is going to stop that. He told us that already, and it has not been done. So I don't expect them to stop.
Well, you know, all I would say is that this term, that the last 2 terms, particularly this last term, has been characterized by the kinds of challenges that the PNP administration never saw. They never saw COVID, they never saw the hurricanes, they never saw global war the way we've seen it in the last term in office. And despite that, the economy has been managed. Contrast that to the 1990s and 2000s when the rest of the global community was having robust growth and we were declining. Now, how does it make
so
sense?
let me just go to Sophia and ask.
I want to say something,
yes,
if I may. There's 2 quick things I want to say. And Sherene is entitled to her version of history. But the facts are simply the facts, Sherene.
I agree. So
when Odishaw was the Minister of Finance, the question was asked of him about Jamaica and how it will be affected by the recession, the world recession. And he commented, again, the facts are the facts, that Jamaica will not be affected. That's one. Secondly, we maintain that the People's National Party in 2011, 2012, inherited an economy where nobody wanted to deal with Jamaica. It is true. Again, the fact the IMF had nothing to do with Jamaica because we took the money and we did not carry through the terms of the IMF. And it is not true to say that it happened towards the end of the agreement. That is not true. What is unequivocal is that the monies were taken by the IMF and the terms and the conditions were not carried out. So I want to put that straight. About the NHT, your Prime Minister, the Prime Minister of Jamaica, has gone on public national radio and television to say that the National Housing Trust is a financial institution. This goes against the very purpose and intent for which the National Housing Trust was established. Secondly, what is bothersome and why the country lacks trust in the Jamaica Labour Party? Because it is the same Jamaica Labour Party that took the People's National Party to court over withdrawing funds from the National Housing Trust. Yet they themselves continue the withdrawal. And the irony of it is, you like to boast about how the economy is growing and the economy is stable. We in the People's National Party took the decision to withdraw funds at the time because we needed the funds to support the budget. But if one is to accept what you're saying about the growth of the economy and how you're evolving in a positive way, then the question, and this is what you must answer, why then, with all the growth and the stability that you and your party speak about, that you're still withdrawing funds? And thirdly, if you want to provide housing and housing solutions for persons, leave the $11 billion a year and allow the National Housing Trust to do the work for which it was established. And that is why the People's National Party is going to be using the National Housing Trust to build 50,000 homes, to have a $1 billion a year fund for our young people leaving university and want to own a house but can't afford the deposit. We are going to use the National Housing Trust to put housing to make affordable housing, to give people land, and to make them a part of the ownership society, which you will agree that all Jamaicans yearn to be a part of the ownership society, to get a key to them house and be a part of the rock. That's all what we want.
We're coming back to you very soon, but we're running out of time. I also want to bring a comment from Chris. Chris says the IMF agreement went off course in 2011 as the year of the election, after the PNP unions took the government to court and threatened island-wide protests. That
Absolutely.
is Chris's position.
Because they had long been subjected to wage freezes under the PNP administration because of the mismanagement of the economy.
I want to move on.
Again, you're entitled to your facts.
Right? I'm not entitled to my facts.
I want to move on. Really want to move on because I haven't had a chance to ask this question now of Sophia. Sophia, one of the big issues, one of the big immediate issues almost, is this matter of the rural school bus transport system that has been broken off. Did the PNP miss the ball on that allowed the JLP to come running over with a system that is ready to go in September?
Let me tell you something. Again, the facts, which cannot be denied, is that the People's National Party first spoke about a school bus system. And we are very happy that the Jamaica Labour Party decided that, this is a good idea. Let us take it, like what they have done with so many more of our ideas, like our rent-to-own program. They have done it. And we are happy that they continue to take our ideas, because Project Jamaica, Mission Jamaica Love is what we're about. The sad thing though is because they do not understand the idea, they run afoul to it. And that is what you're seeing in the Jamaica Labour Party rollout of the school bus system. In the People's National Party, our position is that you must have a designated system to facilitate our children, the safety of our children going to school and going from school. How we envision that working is not some 10-year-old bus that can barely manage and the terrain of Jamaican roads. We don't see it that way. What we see is a participatory process, a very involved consultative process, working with the schools, the guidance counselors at schools, the path officers, working with the teachers at school, but also working with the private sector, who continue to play an important role in our society. And the private sector includes our taximen, it includes our coaster drivers, it includes our 15-seater minibus drivers. We envision working with them, creating a pool of transport operators, guided and assisted by guidance counselor and schools personnel. And this is not a new thing, because certainly where I am from in St. Anne, you have private persons who offer designated transport for school children only for a fee.
All right, Sherene. We're running up against it. I just want Sherene to give an answer, and then I'm going to ask you ladies both to wrap up for us and tell us, and in very short, in less than a minute each, why people should vote for your party. So let's ask Sherene to respond to that on the transport.
Facts are not things that change depending on the speaker. Opinions do. And I can tell you, this issue with the rural school bus, to me, I just don't even understand the PNP's position, because on one hand, you heard that they were going to use taxi operators to take the children. And another hand, now Sophie is saying something that sounds different to me. But I will say this. The party that has had the longest run in government is the People's National Party from 1989 to 2007. In those years, which were four and a half terms for PJ Partisan, I believe it was.
4 terms.
All of these things that needed to be done, that they suddenly have these grand ideas to do, could have been done. Let us say that they got an economy from Edward Seaga that was just in the tubes. They could have fixed that economy in the first 2 terms, because the global community was having a boom. All the conditions were right to fix the economy. So how come there was no rural school bus system, proper system in place? How come NHT was not expanded in a way that Jamaican people don't have problems getting housing today? How come, Mr. Richards, the black man suffering did not end? Because they don't know how to run a country. They have never known how to run a country. They're great at social issues and telling you what they're going to give you. But the Labour Party government is not here to keep people in poverty. We are here to build a strong economy, provide people with support to level up so that they can take themselves out of poverty, not stay in it. We are the men who did not bury our talents. We took our talents and we doubled our talents. And for that reason, this country should allow Andrew Holness and his administration to complete the journey.
Okay. All right. Sophia, you have a chance to respond.
Yes.
Give you a minute, just under a minute to respond and tell us why.
It's interesting that Sherene will talk about the PNP being in power for however long. But what she failed to say is that the Jamaica Labour Party has been in power for 9 straight years, and they have not even been able to provide a manifesto. They keep talking about, oh, we plan to roll out and we plan to roll out. You were rolling out in 9 years. Your spark hasn't sparked. Your reach has not reached. And you're still trying to determine what to do. So, in fairness, Sherene, you have not provided any reason why Jamaica should give you a third year. But let me say this: Jamaica is not a crossroads. We are going to have to make a decision as Jamaicans as to the type of Jamaica we want. Whether it's a Jamaica where only a few benefit and their friends, whether it's a Jamaica where the leader of the Jamaica Labour Party, having had 2 taxes as he claimed, has become a billionaire, while the rest of us continue to struggle, or whether it's a Jamaica where hospitals are running out of resources, where drills that cost 4 million are now being sold for 31 million, and you don't have bed, you don't have water, you don't have medication. Or is it Jamaica where the Prime Minister is one beyond any doubt, a person of integrity who has been certified, a Jamaica where you know you have beds in your hospitals, a Jamaica where hospitals have resources, a Jamaica where the school system is accessible to all Jamaicans, a Jamaica where you can own a home, you have your key to your house, a Jamaica where you can go to school, as I tell you to do, learn, get an education, and be your best self. Every Jamaican can do this, and not just those who are connected. And so we have to make that decision as to the kind of Jamaica we want. And it's for that reason why I say that on September 3rd, we must vote for the People's National Party, because time comes for every Jamaican to build back stronger and to kick down the doors of corruption.
All right. Thank you very much. Ms. Sherene, I'm going to give you your minute, but I just want to throw in some comments.
You know, I'm going to be short because I don't think
Golding
time comes.
Campbell, he says, you know, the school bus system is loaded with corruption, 1 billion still missing, and it stands to be the biggest scandal in Jamaica's history. I see Morris Thomas coming up and said, Jamaica is at no crossroads. Jamaica is far better than it was 10 years ago. And Saul Walking says, PNP started a pilot program for school bus in Clarendon, and they were voted out. But we're finishing up the program, so Sherene, it's your less than 1 minute.
You know, you can repeat things as many times as you want. It doesn't make them true. And so I often don't counter some of the loud repetitions of things that are not true. The fact of the matter is Jamaicans were around to see what happened in the 90s. They were around to see what happened between 2012 and 2016. And they have been around to see what happened between 2016 and 2025. Nobody in this country can tell me that they anticipated that we would be sitting here today talking about murders being reduced by 42%. We didn't conceive of it, yet this government under Andrew Holness has done it. Nobody could tell me that we thought we'd be looking at poverty rates in single digits, almost going down to nil. We didn't think of it, we didn't conceive of it, but the JLP government has done it. Nobody can tell me that we thought that we were going to have a situation where our debt to GDP ratio had come down, so that we are now earning more than we are spending and able to spend money on social infrastructure, roads, schools, water. People have water in their pipes, Franklin, I am told, that never have water from before I was born in 1972. So you can repeat what you want to repeat. It does not make it true. This government has earned its keep, and I urge the Jamaican people not to allow the gains that we have made to be undone. And so on September 3rd, I am of the view, and I am going to be voting for the Jamaica Labour Party. My ex will go beside the bell. And that's what I hope my Jamaican country.
You're wasting your ex.
Mr. Richards, next time I come on the program, make sure you're coming to ask me questions and not to lay out the manifesto of the PNP, okay?
Thank you very much.
My debater was Frazer-Binns, not Desmond Richards.
Sherene Golding, thank you very much. And as I said earlier in the program, for those who joined us late, I thank you for jumping in at the last minute, so to speak, after
thank you. It's my pleasure. I'm happy to tell people why they should vote for the JLP.
And thank you so much. Sophia,
thank you.
Binns,
thank you for having me. It's quite spirited. And I know that Jamaica needs a change. I know that Jamaica wants what is best for them and their families, and that is why they will continue to support the PNP. And on September 3rd, they are going to vote for the People's National Party. So thank you for the opportunity to continue to talk about our plans and our promises and our commitment to Jamaica, to make Jamaica the choice of place. Thank you so much.
I just want to tell our viewers that these two ladies who are both attorneys at law know each other in the Senate, work together on several House committees, and they had no issue, neither of them had any issue of speaking together on the same platform. And so we thank you both for that. Let's move on. Thank you again, ladies.
Mission Jamaica, love. Thank you so much.
Good afternoon.
Moses,
take care. Bye-bye.
We will vote. Moses is saying we will vote out corruption. Spooks is saying lots of things. Biggest set of scandals, seeing people forget Petrojam, Ministry of Education, Market Me, etc., etc. All right, so we're going to go now to our analysts, and boy, we are turning to them very late. Sorry, we have Clyde Williams, and I reintroduce him. Clyde Williams is an attorney, well-known commentator and former member of the PNP. And we also have Garfield Higgins, who is a commentator and columnist for the Sunday Observer. And
a JLP supporter.
And a JLP supporter. And we're taking them very late in the context. Desmond, one of the issues that we have coming to this election is that there's a lot of I think that there are some people just holding their corners, and we've heard the argument about bad mind and wickedness and so on, about how we're talking to our own Jamaicans. And it's not nice and it's not right, and we just want to really keep the dialogue and keep the discussion going so that people can think.
You're not going to get better right now, do you know, Franklin? It's election time, and both parties are selling themselves. So don't expect to get any. Don't
expect any better.
No.
Morris Thomas says, you mean Jamaica no good if you really want PNP to come back in government. That's what Morris Thomas is saying. Clyde is with us, or is that? Yes, Clyde. I'm sorry, Clyde, we ran over our time. But give us a quick impression, your quick impression of how the polls stand, how things stand now. What does it look like to you, Clyde? We're relying on your years of wisdom of watching these things.
Right. Well, the first thing I want to say is that the continuation of low interest in our elections, and that is of concern, and none of the parties have addressed that. None of them have addressed the fact that we're moving from highs. Admittedly, in the 70s and the 80s, the stewardship over ballot boxes was not so strict. as it is now since the Electoral Office of Jamaica, the EO, and the Commission. But those are years of high 70s and high point in 1980 when it was the East-West War, Cold War playing out in Jamaica of over 80%.
Yeah.
We're now at below 50%. And I'm excluding last election as there was a pandemic, but it really was because the PNP didn't carry out its vote. The JLP only slipped marginally from about 28,000 less than they received in 2016, in 2020. It was the PNP whose precipitous decline to 100 and by 100 and almost 33,000 votes that really caused the low turnout in the last election, fundamentally. But the turnout, so we're looking at 48%, just below 50%. None of the parties, so they haven't captured my attention. So that's why I think there's a dead heat, statistical dead heat. Somebody will have to win, but they haven't captured my attention. And I think I'm with a large number of persons who haven't captured attention.
So you don't see the over 50% going to the polls this time?
Marginally. If it gets to 50, it's going to be marginal, 51, 52. But I don't think it will exceed 55. Right? If it gets to 50, I don't think it will exceed 55 because the polls are trending in that direction in terms of an expected low turnout. And I have some reliance on those polls because I think the sample that they are using has proven to be within the plus or minus 3 that they have been using over the last 2-3 years. Right? So you have to give them that. So you know what kinds of issues would interest people like me and people to come out and vote. You have to widen the basis of voting. Give me 2 votes, one for a prime minister and one for an MP. Widen the pool of persons who are interested in voting. I might not want to put in the JLP, but the JLP MP is a good MP. And I'm struggling. Somebody decides, you know, I'm going to stay home. I'm not trouble them. I'm going to stay home. So give me 2 votes, none of them. The PNP, who has traditionally, historically led Jamaica at junctures in terms of a thrust forward. From the time of self-government, 1945, adult suffrage manly, the formation of the PNP in 1938 to lead that movement. And then, of course, in the 1970s, the whole notion that the state must be involved a little bit more in the day-to-day activity of the lives of Jamaicans. It can't just be the private sector you leave everything to, and so on. You know, we move from commanding heights to regulatory frame, which I think is a better approach, regulatory frame, but there must be some involvement. So none of those issues have come up. None of the issues as to the question of whether, and one side can't do it. But I'm not hearing them talk about it. I'm not hearing them talk about waste management. No.
And Clyde,
yes.
Clyde, they're not talking about land reform to make land accessible to black people.
And shelter. Because remember, I don't think, so I twin land reform, I twin land availability with shelter. Because take, for instance, in the urban centers that people now live, you may not be able to give somebody a land spot, but you might be able to give somebody an apartment that can hold 2 or so people. So land, shelter, country people now might say, give me a 1/8 of the acre. Right? Give me 1/8, which is half of a quarter, I think. Give me 1/8. And me and my people, then we go and build panny.
So Clyde, I just got to ask you if you don't buy this argument. By the way, Joshua, I'm not seeing Mr. Higgins still. Don't know if he's there anywhere.
I'm on Sir Franklin. I'm waiting on you to give me an opportunity.
Okay, sorry, man. I'll come to you. Garfield, sorry, man.
How you do, Clyde?
We weren't seeing your image. But Garfield, go ahead. Give us your sense of what's happening here now and whether you agree with Clyde that we're barely going to touch 50 if we get there.
I think we will have between 55 and 60 in terms of voter turnout. I think people are very enthused about the election process. I think some of us are misdiagnosing and miscalculating the feeling on the ground as to how important this election is to people, how important this election is to people's bread and butter issues. And some of the issues that I hear persons say they're not hearing anything about. I have heard both parties.
I want to be very careful if it's what I'm saying.
Yeah, but could you allow me to finish?
No, but I don't like the persons. If you're talking about something I said, that's fine. But don't say persons.
Say Clyde. Say Clyde. But let him finish, Clyde.
Yeah.
Please.
Yeah, but I'm not going to allow people to dictate what I say and how I say it. Please don't do that. You have invited me as a guest, and I wanted to be treated with respect because I'm going to treat you with respect. Now, I'm saying I've heard different persons say things are not being said about A, B, C, E, F, and G. I have heard on both sides the addressing of those matters. What I have not heard that I would agree with is that maybe more needs to be said in more very specific ways on some of those issues.
About
What
the
I
low
think is
turnout,
happening right
Garfield.
now, what I think, just allow me, please. What I
I am
think is
allowing you. I'm
happening,
just asking if you mean that by the low turnout.
yeah, what I think is happening now, we are going to be very surprised, I believe, based on the data I have. We're going to be very surprised as to what will happen on September 3.
Tell me that what you mean
And
by that. Be specific there for me, my
Yeah,
brother.
wait, surprise
What,
about what?
what I mean by that is specifically this. I believe we're going to have certainly above 55% turnout at the polls. And I believe that persons who did not vote in 2020, they might not have been motivated because of a number of reasons, and COVID and other reasons. They are going to come out, and we're going to. I'm hoping have a very uneventful election with regard to any
And
unhappy incidents. And once that is actually on a go in terms of happening where there are no incidents, I believe we will have just about 55, nearing 60% turnout.
and
And,
Garfield,
and you think the
and,
JLP
and
will
Ga-
win a third term? Garfield, we near to the end. You think the JLP will win a third term convincingly?
If we are to go by the latest Don Anderson polls, Mr. Anderson says that the JLP has the momentum. My information, the data that I'm looking at, in addition to the Anderson polls, says that the JLP does indeed have the
Then how
momentum,
we going to have
and
a
I'm
discussion
expecting
if you are
I'm
using
I'm
private
expecting that
information?
I'm
This
expecting
don't
that the
make
JLP
sense.
you
I'm
expect the J,
expecting JLP.
No, but
you
this
expect
doesn't
I know
make
it wouldn't
any
make
Go ahead,
sense to
sense.
you
Clyde.
because
Clyde,
you
you
want
go
to
ahead
dictate
now.
what I
No,
say.
no, I'm not saying.
Garfield, let him
Here's what
speak
I'm
now. Let
saying.
him speak.
If
Clyde,
you are
And
go
you
going to
ahead.
won't
have a
dictate what I say
discussion,
on this program.
if you're to have a discussion, you can't have one
No,
of the
you can't tell me
discussants
anything
say,
about
Clyde,
discussion of
Clyde,
you
how
Clyde,
to
can't have
Clyde,
frame a
one
use
of
the
the
time, no
discussion.
man.
discussants.
Clyde, use the
You
time
can't
and go
have one
ahead.
of the discussants say, I have private information. The other discussants are not able to evaluate the discussion. So when I say it's about that margin, I'm using the polls that are published and available nationally.
Yes.
You can't have a meaningful discussion if one discussant says, well, I have private information that says
no, but
this
hold
is
on,
going to happen.
Clyde, hold on a
It's
second. One of the
ridiculous.
things
It's ridiculous.
no, but no, hold on, Clyde. One of the things you must remember, don't allow him to speak because remember, Garfield Higgins, Mr. Higgins, he's pro JLP. So
I know that, but even then, he must say
if he's
he must
supporting
say
the
JLP
JLP,
polls.
No,
and
but
he
we're not going
expect
to keep arguing about who is what,
No, he
Desmond. Let's
must
just
say, my position is this. My
Garfield.
position is this. Let me
Yes,
just
sir.
finish my statement. My position is this. Higgins must stand up and say, recent JLP internal polls published in July of 2025
Yeah,
says that the
okay.
JLP is leading. Or don't bother introduce it then, because how do we have a discussion
Garfield, we don't have
around
a lot of
nothing?
time. We have less than 2 minutes. So Garfield, just wrap up
Yes, sir, Franklin.
your comments. I really just wanted
I am
to
leaving. I'm
give
not
Right.
us.
going to
I
stay. I'm
maintain I
leaving. No,
maintain I maintain, Sir
I'm going to
Franklin.
leave if you're going to come
And
with private information.
Mr. Williams will not
No, no,
browbeat.
you stop with the little
You can continue
propaganda. Stupid.
shouting because your shouting doesn't make any
Virgin.
sense. You can carry on. But
You
here's the
can go on
thing.
with your
You
you're a
asked me you
propagandist.
asked
I am
me
not. I'm
yeah,
not a
yeah, you
propagandist.
shut up. Shut up
Here you
because you
go.
are
I've
not
never
making any
said that to
sense.
you. You see,
You're a
where
half-wit.
you reach? You see where you
Yes, you're a
reach?
half-wit. You
You see
you
where
have
you
no
reach?
sense.
You
Shut
see,
up.
All right. So
Let
so
us go
hold
on.
on,
You
hold
have
on.
asked
All
me a
right. We're not
question.
going to
information
know
that's
a cussing
private.
game to continue. Both
No,
of
but
you
all
gentlemen,
Yeah.
we
he
are very happy
cussing
to have you.
out of
We're
order
happy to have
Thank you
you.
very
because
much.
I've
We hope
challenged
we're
you
going to
on
have you
private
again next
information
week.
and using
All
We're
the best to
hoping we're
controversial
you.
going to have you
something.
again next
Out
week.
of
We're
All the
order.
best
sorry
to
that
you.
we've run
You
out
see
of
where you
time.
reach? You're
But we know
nasty,
that you have
Garfield.
insights that
You
we'd love
dirty
to
man.
share.
Low.
Clyde, we
That's
know you have
low,
insights you'd
Garfield.
love to share.
Yeah.
Garfield, we came to you as well because we
Low.
know you have insights that you would love to share. And I'm
No, he
sorry
don't
that
have no
it's
insight.
broken
Don't
down in
dress
this
it up,
way.
Franklin. Franklin, you're a journalist. If you come and say something, you must stay at the source.
I understand your position, Clyde.
So
I understand your
expect
position.
you,
It's just,
Franklin, if I come on this program, I expect you to say to the person speaking, what's your source? And if they can't reveal their source, you have to say them, let's move on. I don't expect it to have Garfield come.
You don't have a clue about journalism. You're a halfwit. Go away.
That's what I mean. That
Clyde and
kind of
Garfield, don't bother with
disrespect.
that cost.
I'm not
All
coming
right,
back
gentlemen,
on this
thank you
if
very
Garfield
much.
comes
We
with
are
that
thankful to
disrespect.
Sophia
You haven't a
Frazer-Binns.
clue about journalism. Shut up and go.
You must speak
Garfield
and
Clyde.
say that the JLP polls, so the
Garfield
whole
and
of
Clyde,
people can
let's
know
break it
you
up
are
there.
there. Speak it, Garfield.
Thank you very much for inviting me.
We're going to meet from Joshua. All right. Thanks to Sophia Frazer-Binns of the PNP and Sherene Golding Campbell of the JLP for their contributions in the first half of this podcast, more than half. Thanks to Clyde Williams and Garfield Higgins for their insights. Sorry that it ended up the way it did. And thanks to regular panelist Desmond Richards. Thanks to technical producer and graphic artist Joshua Black. I'm Franklin McKnight. Until then, and remember, you can watch this program anytime at your convenience on the Frankly Speaking Jamaica YouTube channel. Thank you.